is Andrew Michael, and welcome to a Thanksgiving week special, where today we are going to be doing another tier list. Now, last time I did do a Red Ranger tier list about a couple months ago, and while it was pretty good, at the same time I really didn't put much thought into it, and so this time I have tried to get as much information I could about these Rangers, and I'm going to be ranking all of the Blue Rangers from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to the current season of Beast Morphers. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode or stream here on YouTube. With that being said, let's get into today's video. Alright, so we are here, and I'm using the webcam to cover my side of this. I would use my phone, but I think to make things better, I'm trying to use the display capture, so some of this may be off, so I apologize. Anyways, we are going to start with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and we're going to go all the way to Beast Morphers. Now, I do have this tier list set up to be, we got rid of the S tier because, honestly, I feel like if it's an A tier, I mean, the difference between A and S is like the difference between perfect and great. I mean, there should just be an A tier. So I got rid of the S tier, and we have A tier, a B tier, a C tier, and D tier because, honestly, I don't think there was any Power Rangers, especially the Blue Rangers, that I thought were absolute Fs. So I made the last tier, don't know much about, because it's not really fair if I don't know much about a Power Ranger and I give them like a D when they were actually a B. So with that being said, let's start off with the OG himself, Billy from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1, 2, and 3. You can't have Power Rangers without Billy, because it just makes those who aren't strong, those who aren't the cool kids, it just makes it to where if Billy had not existed, you wouldn't have as many Power Rangers here now, especially Billy, because he's more of a nerd and less of a jock and less of a smart and cool guy. He's a smart guy. So with that being said, I'm giving him an A tier because you can't go wrong with Billy. With that being said, let's go to Aliens, and I just did not watch Aliens enough. I really didn't. But the thing is, Aliens, from what I heard, could have been so much better, but from what I've heard, it really was just average and mediocre. Now, we move on to Rocky. Now, a lot of people have different opinions about Rocky, especially in Mighty Morphin in Season 2 when he became the Red Ranger. But in Zeo when he became the Blue Ranger, it just felt more natural with him being a Blue Ranger. And I think he is still a really good Ranger, and I honestly think I would give him an A, but honestly, I don't know if I can. Now we move on to Justin, and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give him a D. Look, Justin as a Power Ranger, when he first came into Turbo, everyone was like, "Oh, this is interesting. We have a kid for Power Rangers. This is interesting." But Turbo was just a mediocre season in general. Like, it could have been so much more, but it wasn't. Justin didn't do a whole lot for me, so I gave him a D. Now, speaking of Turbo, we have another Ranger that was the Red Ranger, and now the Blue Ranger. And I just think TJ knocked it out of the park as an A Ranger, as the Blue Ranger for In Space. TJ was one of those people where if you didn't like Andros, TJ was like keeping the other Rangers from Turbo together, and as a team, they made In Space so fantastic. And now we go on to Lost Galaxy, and we have this guy. Now, I forgot his name. But basically, with this Ranger, I'm going to have to give him a B. Now, I did watch a decent amount of episodes of Lost Galaxy. I just don't remember too much about this Ranger. And so what I remember is he was very smart. Like, he was the brains of the operation. You know, you had Leo, the brave guy. You also had the Pink Ranger, Kendricks, who died for the Rangers and made them feel like a family. In general, Lost Galaxy was such a good season. Now we move on to Lightspeed Rescue with, I think, this guy. Like, I don't know much about this one. I know the Blue Ranger was there, but in terms of Lightspeed Rescue, I think there was much more of a dynamic with the Red Ranger and the Pink Ranger and the Green Ranger and the Titanium Ranger. Now we have Time Force, and from what I've heard, this one was a C. Only because the Time Force, it just felt like there was a lot more focus on Wes and a lot more with Jin. But for the Blue Ranger, he didn't do a lot for me, but he wasn't bad. And so now we're moving on with Wild Force. We have this guy. This guy was such a cool Ranger, honestly. And I'm putting him at B because he wasn't spectacular, but it just felt like when Wild Force was the last hoorah for Power Rangers before we had Disney buying them. It just felt like this Blue Ranger just made it feel cool to be a Ranger. And now we go on to the official Disney seasons, starting with Ninja Storm, and you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot tell me that Tori is not one of the best Blue Rangers in the whole Disney era. Tori was such a huge piece in Ninja Storm. Like when Nick and Dustin and the Thunder Rangers, when they were all having their own thing going, Tori was the brains of this team. And now we go to not Dino Charge, but Dino Thunder. I'm giving Ethan a blue. Alright, Dino Thunder was one of those seasons where not a whole lot of people talked about it, but I think Ethan, as the smarts of the team, as the nerd of the team, figuring out a lot with what was going on, plus two, Tommy as the Black Ranger, it just felt like Ethan was just the smart guy, but he was also part of the team as well, because all of the three bonded together as a family like they should. Now we move on to SPD, and my favorite Ranger, for those who don't know, is Sky. He felt like he was the second in leader person. He always wanted to be the Red Ranger, right? But they were the B team, even though they were the A players. Now we have, I forget her name, but this was one of those Rangers where it was in a bad season. Like, Mystic Force could have been better, but I feel like it was just average. But her as a Blue Ranger just felt like when the other Rangers weren't doing something, she was one of the best Rangers in the entire season. Now, she didn't do anything spectacular. Like, if she took her away, it would feel like that it would just be a different season. But with her, it just made Mystic Force more likable. Now we have Operation Overdrive, and yeah, don't know. I've seen this Blue Ranger, and I'm giving him a C because he's just average. Now we have. Let me tell you, this is where Jungle Fury really was a fantastic season. I think a lot of people overlook Jungle Fury as a good season because it is a great season. And if you're not a Power Ranger fan, I would seriously go watch Jungle Fury. As a Blue Ranger, he knew his place on the team, but he really had something going on with the Yellow Ranger, always wanting to make it feel like he wanted to be with her. And speaking of another Ranger, we have this guy, RPM. RPM overall was a dark season, but it wasn't too dark. Like, it was a kid's show with a little bit of death in it. But it just felt like when everyone thought Power Rangers was going to go away now, but then Nickelodeon picked it up, it just felt like as a Blue Ranger, every time I've seen RPM, it just felt like this guy was like a good part of the team. Like, he wasn't the best part of the team, but it really just feels like as a team, this Blue Ranger knocked it out of the park for me. Now we move on to the Nickelodeon era, which where we are now, and we have Kevin. Samurai could have been so much better, but the thing is, it never really went anywhere for me. And as a Blue Ranger, it just felt like he wanted to be the Blue Ranger, but he wanted to be the leader, but he always wanted to be the leader, but he never progressed. Now, speaking of a season that was just plain out bad, Megaforce was god-awful. Super Mega Force could have been, it was a little bit less god-awful, but it was still bad. But Noah just felt like if he was the Red Ranger, Megaforce could have been better, because Troy did not have any character development whatsoever, and the only person to have any character development is Noah. Now we go to Coda, but I'm giving him a C because he didn't really, to me, it just felt like he didn't go a whole lot far. He was a caveman, and he felt like a huge family. But the thing is, the problem with Dino Charge was that we got a lot of progression, but at the same time, I just felt like the season itself could have been better. Then we get on to probably the worst season we've had besides Megaforce. And we have Preston. He was a magician. That's all I can say about him. I didn't watch Ninja Steel. I only watched maybe half of an episode. And then we have our first Hasbro season with Beast Morphers. And we have Ravi. So far, from what I have seen, everyone has had character development. And I'm putting him in an A because, to me personally, I just like his dynamic with him and Roxy. That love dynamic, if they put in more effort to be like, Ravi still has feelings, and every time he sees Roxy, he's trying to break her free of the Avatar. And that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comment section below where you would rank your favorite Blue Rangers. Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, if you made it this far, make sure to give this video a like. And also subscribe and hit the notification bell. Until next time, I'm Andrew Michael, and I hope you all have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Thumbs up.